It is called sick, strengthless, diseased, or impotent. We emphasize the fact that many of us have faith that has no potential in our life. Our faith does not make a difference. And consequently, if your faith does not make a difference, how do you know your faith will carry you to heaven? Amen. We said that weak faith is always subject to fleshly influences. We said that weak faith can only operate in agreement with the will of God when there are no fleshly desires competing against the will of God and the will of man. In other words, if we have weak faith, our fleshly desires will always win over the will of God. There are times when the will of God goes right against your flesh. There are times when the will of God will go right across what you desire, and you've got to have enough faith to overcome your desires. How many know what I'm talking about? I was just in the airport on this past Thursday, and I was trying my best to get home. I was so excited. I had a long flight from Los Angeles back into Memphis, and I was studying on the plane. I was having a great time, and God was dropping some wonderful thoughts in my mind about faith, and I just couldn't wait to get back on Thursday night, hallelujah, to have at least about 5 people shout with me. And got to the airport, my wife and I, we were sitting there talking and discussing and talking and discussing and talking and discussing and and we were just really, eyeball to eyeball. We were just really just talking about some things, and so we were just having a great time there. And something dawned on me. I had to take a break because she was getting on me. And something dawned on. After 26 years, she's still getting on me. But anyway, I wanted to take a break, and I said, let me go check on this plane. And I'm sitting there right in front of the door. I saw them come off the plane. I saw them shut the door again. I saw the individual standing there at the desk, and I looked at my clock because I was really in a conversation, and it was 1:35, and normally they board you 15 minutes earlier. I said, let me get up out of here. I went to check out my flight and found out that they had changed the boarding gate. Now, my flesh rose up. I was hot. I was mad. How many ever been so mad that you wanted to kick something? Oh, I see. That's why y'all belong to this church, don't you? This is the church of the kicking, the whatever, And I wanted to kick, and I felt it was so unfair. I said, listen, I didn't even hear it. I remember once I was in Dallas waiting. I was right there by the door. The chair right by the door. I must have dozed off about 5 minutes, and they said, they're gone. Gone? Call them back. I got so upset. How many know you don't want to miss flights? It's one of the worst feelings you can experience. And I got upset, and I realized that my being angry was not going to change anything. And I'm so glad I had the right attendant, because where there is no fire, then there's nothing that can catch the wood ablaze. And she was so nice, and when somebody's nice, you just can't be angry at them. You're almost hoping for an attitude where you can just really vent. But she was so nice. She said, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to try to do everything I can for you. And she was so nice. And I kept telling myself, but I want to get on that flight. And I said to them, well, how much do y'all have private jets? She said, yes, we do. I said, how much? She said, $6,000. I said, what about my flight? Say amen. I started to call up one of my pastor's friends because he has a private jet. And I said, man, can you get your jet here? Because I need to get home. But the point I'm trying to emphasize is that I realized that my attitude that I was displaying was not Christ-like. And I had to take authority over how I felt and exemplify a Christ-like attitude before the intercom said, will Pastor Lockett please come to the... Are you following what I'm saying? See, weak faith gives in to the influences of the flesh. Weak faith does not submit to the will of God because weak faith is controlled by your fleshly desires. Amen? We said that strong faith is the conviction or belief to act according to God's will by overcoming personal beliefs, desires, excuses, or fears that influences you and I to act contrary to God's will. Now, I know that's a lot there, and it bears repeating. Strong faith is the conviction or belief to act according to God's will by overcoming personal beliefs, desires, excuses, fears that influences you and I to act contrary to the known will of God. What are you saying about this, Pastor? I am saying that when we have strong faith, it helps us to overcome personal beliefs. Because sometimes our beliefs conflict with God's beliefs. God believes this way, and we believe that way. And if you don't believe what God believes, then you'll let your beliefs override what God believes. Amen? So when we come to this thing called brain barriers, if you have been studying your lesson in Experience the Life, say amen. You know and I know that they talk about brain barriers. Amen? It's in the first lesson, and let me read some of this to you. First of all, in the first week, the first day of the devotion, it says, the core thought was this: change is a choice, and choosing is changing. Then the second day of the devotion, it says this: change is choosing a new mental map. In other words, they call a mental map those things we have in our brain, sometimes unknowingly, that takes us to a certain place, that programs our behavior. How many know what I'm talking about? Some of us have GPS in our automobiles, and you can put in an address, and it is designed to take you to that address. Amen? However, and when you get off course, it'll tell you changing the route, or we're rerouting you, because it's programmed to get you where you want to go. Some of us cannot understand how is it that the same old things keep happening in my life. It's because you have these mental maps that take you there. Say amen. We have programmed our brain to think a certain kind of way. We have programmed our brain to act a certain kind of way. We have programmed our brain to be broke a certain kind of way. Say amen. I am convinced that where we are in life is a result of what we believe about life. Are you following what I'm saying? Some people sit up here and get offended. Why? Because in their brain map, they say, wow, why is this happening to me? Why is it not happening to you? You got to realize this, saints of God, and this is what I have to realize. When I could not get back home here on Thursday, I realized that there's a sovereign God and that he's in control of my life, and that before I got to the airport, he knew that I would miss my flight. And yet he had made provision for the kind of attitude that would help me grow instead of be offended by the fact that I lost my fight. Now, you can either become bitter or better.